Hi, I'm Craig Murphy. I want to talk to you about the Las Vegas shootings and what you can do. It's been over a week now since this horrific event, and it seems like the news and the media have moved on to new things. But for those of us here and for those people who've lost loved ones or had people that were injured, you have lots of questions where you can turn to and what you can do to make up for some of your losses and damages. Now, I know that many of the losses and damages can never be recovered. There's no price that we can put on human life and the tragedy that has happened to so many people. But as I said, the news media has moved on, and you will find that in the weeks and months to come, you're going to have questions about what you can do to make up for the losses, the unspeakable losses that you have suffered. We've been getting calls to my office from various people asking what, if anything, can be done. And what I've done is I've written a brief report to give to people to provide information so that you can find out or take steps to protect yourself and make up for some of the losses and damages that you have suffered. And what I want to do in this video is go through a little bit and give you some options and tell you some of the things that you can do, or some of the steps that you can take to put yourself in a position where you might be able to make up for some of those losses. And the first question that we're getting is really, who is responsible? And one of the most frustrating things about this is, here it is over a week later, and we still have absolutely no idea what the motive was behind this sick and twisted event. What would cause someone to barricade themselves in a room and just start shooting thousands and thousands of rounds of bullets down upon an innocent crowd that is just attending a concert? It's just really unspeakable. And as the scene unfolded and the news was reported and the videos that were out there, I don't think that anybody in Las Vegas, let alone across the whole country and even the world, we were shocked, we were dismayed, we were horrified by what happened. But those of you who've personally suffered losses, you need to know where to turn. And I want to try and give you some ideas of what you can or can't do at this point, and based upon the information that we have to date. So based upon that, I'll give you some ideas of where you may be able to turn. And again, I've put this in a report, and all you have to do is call my office or send me an email, and I'll send it to you so that you can have information and you can have it in your hands and have it as a resource that you might be able to follow. But one of the first things, or first question is who's responsible? Who ultimately can give you compensation for the losses and the damages that you have suffered? And this is compensation in a monetary sense. Again, there is nothing, unfortunately, that we can do to turn back the clock and put you in the position that you were in just a day before this event happened. We just don't have that ability. So the question is, what can you do to receive some sort of compensation, financial compensation for your losses, damages, and injuries? So the first source that is available is the estate of the shooter, Stephen Paddock. You will be able to sue his estate. From the reports, we've heard various information, but right now the information that we have is that he was a millionaire. He had money to gamble all of the time. He was essentially like a professional gambler. He played video poker at length, bragging during a deposition that it was not out of the ordinary for him to gamble an amount in excess of $1 million per night on video poker. So obviously he was a man of financial means, and if he has millions of dollars in his estate, anybody who has suffered damages and losses will be able to bring a claim against his estate. Here's the unfortunate reality that you face when you look at bringing a claim against the estate of the shooter, Stephen Paddock. And that is that there are, at this time, 59 casualties. He murdered 59 people. In addition, we have well over 500 people who were wounded or otherwise injured in this event. And in addition to that, there will be thousands, perhaps many thousands of people who have suffered emotional injuries as a result of this. Basically, everyone was thrown into a war zone, and it wouldn't be unusual that a number of people have very serious psychological injuries akin to wartime PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So there could be thousands and thousands of claims that are made against the estate of the shooter, Stephen Paddock. And based upon that, even if there is $5 million in his estate, that will not be sufficient to pay for all of the damages and losses that have been suffered by the families of the people that have been murdered, senselessly killed in this tragic event. There's not going to be enough to fully compensate the hundreds of people who were wounded or otherwise suffered direct physical injuries, and then to pay for the psychological damages and losses to the people that were there and maybe suffering additional injuries as a result of that. So the question is, where then can someone turn to get additional compensation to pay for your losses and damages that you have sustained as a result of this madman's actions? And so again, those are some of the things that I cover in my report and that I provide to you. And as I said, the estate is going to be responsible, and it's not going to be sufficient to pay everybody that the losses that you have sustained. So you've got to look for other sources of potential recovery. Logically, the first place to examine is the Mandalay Bay. I mean, after all, they had the shooter staying at their property. He was perched in one of their rooms, many floors above the venue, and was able to shoot at the victims for an extended period of time from that vantage point at the Mandalay Bay. So the questions really arise as to whether or not the Mandalay Bay did anything or failed to do anything that they reasonably should have done or should not have done that would have either prevented this from happening or that actually allowed it to happen because they failed to act. So we examine the Mandalay Bay and see if there's any basis for the imposition of liability against them for what they did or didn't do. Now, at first, many people think, well, you know, how could a hotel allow somebody to bring in, multiple suitcases full of guns, rifles, all of these thousands of rounds of ammunition? Shouldn't they have known what was going on? And what you have to realize is that in Las Vegas, there are people that stay in Las Vegas for extended periods of time. That's not unusual. When people come to Las Vegas to stay for an extended period of time, it's not unusual that they're going to have a large amount of luggage. So that in and of itself is not really going to create any suspicion or be the basis for the imposition of liability against the Mandalay Bay, especially if you consider that the shooter, the Stephen Paddock, was staying there for an extended period of time. He probably, over the course of a few days, brought up different luggage and containers that had the ammunition and the rifles and the guns in there. So he didn't bring them up all at once, and it probably was a situation that was not out of the ordinary and would not have caused any suspicion. So the mere fact that he had lots of luggage, was staying there for an extended period of time, and that his luggage obviously contained weapons and a lot of ammunition, there was no way really for the Mandalay Bay to know that at the time, and I would not believe that that would be the basis for the imposition of any liability against the Mandalay Bay. So we got to look a little closer, and originally from the information that we had, it didn't appear that there would be any basis for the imposition of liability against the Mandalay Bay. But as the facts and the news stories are coming out and we're learning more and more information, there may be basis or bases for the imposition of liability against the Mandalay Bay. Just recently, Steve Wynn came out and said that at his hotel and casino, if there's a do not disturb sign on a door for more than 12 hours, that automatically triggers an investigation from his staff. The reason that he has that policy is it's not only for the protection of the guest to make sure that there's not a health issue or an emergency occurred and that the person in the room needs immediate medical attention, but it is also for security reasons, that they want to know that something out of the ordinary is not taking place in that room. So if there is a do not disturb sign on the door for more than 12 hours, at Steve Wynn's property, they're going to have an investigation. Someone's going to call or go to that room and check and see what's going on. So the question is the industry standard in Las Vegas that once a do not disturb sign is on a door for excess of 24 hours or 36 hours or 12 hours, as in the Wynn Resort, where is it? At what point does it trigger the necessity for that hotel to take the steps to find out what is going on? And if the industry standard is the 12 hours that Steve Wynn uses, or that it's 24 hours or some other amount of time, it may very well be the basis for the imposition of liability against the Mandalay Bay, because the reports are that Paddock had a do not disturb sign on his door for at least 36 hours. And if the standard requires some type of investigation to make sure that something unusual is not going on in that room, then that may be the basis to say that their failure to act, to follow the industry standards, caused or contributed to this event happening. Because had they checked, had they gone there and found that he was setting up all of these rifles on tripods and that he had this stash of guns and ammunition, it's quite foreseeable that they could have prevented this from happening by investigating and taking the steps to stop it. So that may be one basis against the Mandalay Bay, that they will have some liability. In addition, we are also learning that what Paddock did before this event is that he went to the staircase and put a metal bar and bolted it across the door to the stairway so there would not be any access to his floor from the stairwell. And if there is video from the Mandalay Bay, and they are seeing that Paddock is barricading the stairwell so that there is no access from security or hotel employees or the SWAT team or the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and they ignored the fact that he is barring that door. And they had video of it and ignored it. That again is the basis for the imposition of liability, because there is no reason for anyone to be barring a door to prevent access from the stairwell onto the floor. That is a violation of the fire code. It is a big fire hazard. It's a hazard in many respects. And so if there is video of that and they failed to act upon it, again, that is the basis for the imposition of liability. Because if they see him bolting this door and they send someone up immediately to deal with it, they can kick through that door and get to his room before he starts this reign of terror on the concert goers at the concert. The other thing is that we are learning that is different than the information that originally came out is what happened with the security guard from the Mandalay Bay. The initial reports were that once they discovered what floor and what room Paddock was in, the security guard went up there just moments before the Metropolitan Police Department arrived, and he was shot trying to stop any further shooting. And in that regard, he certainly is and would be a hero. And what we have learned, though, is that it wasn't moments before the police arrived, but now the news reports are that the security guard went up there and he was shot before Paddock even started firing on the crowd at the concert. And if that's what the situation is, the Mandalay Bay knew that they had a shooter in one of their rooms. And the question becomes, what did they do to prevent him from shooting and having this reign of terror down on these people that were at the concert from his loft up there in their hotel? If they didn't take immediate action, if they didn't immediately notify the police, and if they didn't send up armed security officers to find out or to take Paddock down, but instead just waited, that is a serious problem for them. And if there was time for them to do something and they didn't act, and they could have prevented this, that could very well be a basis to impose liability against the Mandalay Bay. It's going to take some investigation. We need to know all of the facts. We got to know what the timeline is for this entire incident. And believe me, it's being investigated. In addition to the shooter's estate and the Mandalay Bay, are there any other potential organizations or entities that would be responsible for either causing or contributing to this event that would be required to pay any compensation to you for the injuries and damages that you have sustained? The first one we might look at is the concert promoter. And if there's information that the concert promoter had received credible threats that there was going to be an attack like this and they failed to do anything about it, then there may be the basis for imposition of liability against the concert promoter. This is not a situation where the concert promoter did not have enough security. I don't think that there is any way that a concert promoter would realize or be required to do anything to anticipate that someone up on the 31st floor of a hotel across the Las Vegas Strip is going to start a mass shooting and start raining down terror from above. So, it's not going to be a case where it would be very simple to bring a case against the concert promoter on the basis that they had inadequate security. It would really only be a situation where really if they had obtained some type of warning or credible threat and they failed to take any action, then there would be the basis to impose liability. But absent any information like that, I don't think that there's a basis to go after the concert promoter. What about the city of Las Vegas or Clark County? Again, if they had information that there was going to be an attack like this and they had a credible threat and they failed to do anything about it, then there may be the basis for a claim. There's no evidence or facts that would indicate there was any type of warning. In fact, there's no evidence that this shooter, that Paddock, has even given any reason or explanation as to his motive, as to why he would do anything like this. So absent that, the question is then, was there any type of failure by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department or any agency of Clark County to take immediate and appropriate actions to protect the innocent people that were attending the concert and to come in and take the appropriate actions against the shooter and to take him down? And right now it doesn't appear that there's any evidence or that there are any facts that would indicate that the city or the county were negligent in any manner in which they responded to this threat once they were notified of what was going on. But again, the investigations are continuing, the timelines are being filled in greater and greater detail, and maybe some facts will come out that will show that there was a lack of response or inappropriate response. But as things currently stand, it does not look as though there is any basis for the imposition of liability against Las Vegas or Clark County. So what other source or sources may be available to help you in your current situation where you've sustained incredible losses? You may not be able to, at this point, pay your bills, make your house payment, pay your electric, pay your phone, pay for your car. What do you do if you've lost a loved one who was your primary breadwinner or contributed substantially to the income of the household, or you have been wounded and you're in the hospital and you haven't been able to work? What can you do to help provide for your needs and the needs of your family? Let's look at some of the options that are available or may be available to you. For those of you that unfortunately you have a loved one or family member who was murdered by Paddock in this horrible attack, the compensation that you may be able to get, or a source of funds to help you with your immediate needs, is number one, life insurance. If there was any life insurance policies that were available, you need to contact those life insurance companies immediately and make a claim under those life insurance policies. In addition, you may want to contact the employer. There may have been some type of life insurance policy that is available through the employment or as part of the compensation package, along with health insurance or other type of policies that may be available to give you some immediate compensation to help you pay your bills and meet your financial obligations. As we know, the media and everybody else has kind of moved on, but you're stuck holding the bag for this situation, and you have immediate and important financial needs and obligations that you got to meet. And so life insurance may very well be one of the policies or sources of income or money that you can get to use to help bridge the gap and help you with your needs. In addition to that, there may be insurance that again is available through employment or private insurance for short-term and long-term disability. If you're unable to work as a result of your injuries, you can contact your employer and find out if there is short-term and long-term disability that is available to you. And if so, you need to contact those companies immediately, put them on notice of your claim, find out what the waiting period is, find out what the criteria is that they require for you to establish your claim, and take the steps to make your claim so that you can start getting that source of funds to help you meet your bills as soon as possible. There may be other insurances that are available to help you pay some of your expenses. There may be insurance that will help pay car payments. Some of your credit cards may have some type of policy or insurance that is available that you can either access or utilize, or that is part of the contract with that credit card company, where they will have some type of benefit that they have to pay you because of either the death of your loved one or the injuries that you have sustained. So there are a number of sources that you may need to contact and find out what is available, and if so, what you need to do to report it, what the criteria is, and what steps you have to go through to make a valid claim with them, so that again you can take the steps to get that money as soon as possible to help you meet your financial obligations. Another source of funds that may be available to you, if again you're one of the unfortunate families whose loved one was murdered, you can contact your family member's employer and find out if there was a pension that was available, or if there's a 401k or some type of retirement benefits. And as a result of that, you can then perhaps make a claim and see if you can get those funds paid to you immediately. Now, there may be tax consequences that are involved. I would suggest that before you start taking out any money of any accounts, that you talk to a CPA or a tax advisor to make sure that you're not hit with all kinds of penalties or things of that nature. But those funds may be available to you. You may also be able to contact Social Security. There may be benefits that are available immediately to you for assistance through the Social Security. You will have to find out again what is available, and it's going to depend on what the injuries were, what the damages are, whether it's someone that again has a loss of life, or if there is a permanent disability. The Social Security disability is available if you were shot and wounded and you're no longer able to work because of your injuries. You can contact, really what you need to do in that instance is to contact a lawyer that does Social Security disability and find out what the procedure is to go through and make your claim, to validate your claim, and to provide the evidence that is necessary for you to get approved in the least amount of time possible, so that you can start obtaining those benefits that you're entitled to as a result of your injuries and damages. So again, those are sources that you may want to consider. There's a lot of different things, and one of the things that you may want to do to keep from getting overwhelmed with all of this is to contact an attorney who can handle all of this for you, help it get organized, get the letters and the correspondence and the phone calls and everything else that is involved in this, so that they can make the claims for you and you can get on with the business of getting better, putting your life back together to the best of your ability that you can after having gone through this tragic event. Now, if you were a worker who was at work during this time when the attack happened, and either you were injured or you have severe psychological injuries from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, the fact of the matter, you are at work and all of a sudden you're thrown into a war zone. It would not be unexpected or unusual that someone in that situation would suffer PTSD and the symptoms that go along with that. So if you were injured and you were working or you have PTSD, in Nevada, you need to put your employer on notice of your workers' comp claim within 30 days. So you need to get with your employer and tell them that you're making a work comp claim, fill out your C4 claim and get that on file with your work comp carrier, and start getting the medical treatment and the care that you need to take care of you under work comp. You should talk to a workers' comp attorney because you're going to need to make a claim, and again, there are a number of steps that you have to go through to make sure that not only do you get paid for the time that you can't work, you will be paid until you're able to get back to work because you've suffered a workplace injury, but you want to make sure that your claim is properly documented, that it's working its way through the system properly. And these things are very complicated, and you would be very well advised to talk to an attorney to walk you through the workers' comp program so that your claim is made and that you do everything that you need to do to support your claim and make sure that you get the compensation that you're entitled to receive during the time that you're unable to work, and that you get the care and treatment that is required to get you back and put you into the position that you were in before you had to go through this or before you were injured in this event. So that is another source of funds that may be available to you if you were at work when this happened. In addition to those sources, County Commissioner Steve Sisolak set up a GoFundMe account. According to the information that I've seen recently, the fund is in excess of $10 million. There's no criteria that I have seen at the present time what is required for someone to qualify and to be able to get some of those funds through the GoFundMe account. All it says is that it's a fund that is being set up for the victims of the Las Vegas shooting. In my report that I have, we have the contact information for County Commissioner Sisolak, so you can contact him directly, or you can contact me and we will help you to find out exactly what you would need to do, what the requirements and the criteria are to qualify for benefits from the GoFundMe account that has been set up for victims. But if you're a victim of this, that is another source of funds that may be available to you, and something that you want to do to get your claim out there as soon as possible to ensure that you are able to get whatever compensation or funding is available to you before it runs out. Again, there are going to be thousands and thousands of claims, and depending on how serious your claims and the other claims are, will determine how much is available for compensation. So if you have suffered injuries and damages, I would think that you would be well advised to contact an attorney as soon as possible, or to get my report, contact the Clark County Commission and find out what steps you need to take to be able to qualify for funding from the GoFundMe account, because again, those funds may be available to pay you for your injuries and damages, or to help you meet your financial obligations as a result of the injuries that you've suffered as a result of this attack. So again, either contact me so I can give you this report, or you can call me at any time. You can contact me through my email or through my website, and we will be glad to do whatever we can to help you out and give you the information that you need to be able to protect yourself and to try and provide for yourself and your family. One of the other areas that people ask about is homeowners insurance. Will my homeowners insurance pay for any of this? And in most homeowners insurance policies, the fact of the matter is that they exclude acts of terrorism. So more likely than not, this would qualify as some type of terrorist attack, even though I'm going to make it clear, there's no evidence at this point in time that Paddock had an affiliation with a terrorist group. But I would say that it's a pretty terrorist act to set up a perch high above a concert and just start raining down terror and committing a mass murder and wounding, killing almost 60 people and injuring over 500 people that very likely they will fit within the exclusion under your homeowner's policy. In addition, it would be the type of thing that you would not be covered under your homeowner's insurance policy in most instances. But if there's a question, again, what you should do is contact an attorney, have them review your homeowner's policy, and see if there is any basis for a claim under your homeowner's insurance policy. It can't hurt to have an attorney look through your policy and make that determination. If you don't want to get an attorney, call up your homeowner's insurance company and talk to an adjuster and say, do I have a claim? And tell them if they don't think that you have a claim, to cite to you what provisions of your insurance policy state or exclude this type of event from your coverage, and they should provide that information to you. The bottom line is that this was a terrible tragedy. You're never going to be able to make up for the loss of a loved one with money. If you have been severely injured, the compensation that you can receive is going to be minimal compared to the damages that you have suffered. Unfortunately, there is nothing that we can do to take you back to the day before this tragic event happened. The only thing that we can do under the law is to make sure that we get you the compensation that will, as closely as possible, put you back into the position that you were in before these events happened. And so if you have questions about what your rights are, about what you can do, about who you can make claims against, feel free to call me. I'm Craig Murphy. You can call me at the numbers here on my website or on this video. You can contact me through my website, or you can email me. You can request a copy of this report. As I said, I will gladly send that to you so that you can review it. And if you have any questions, I will be glad to talk to you on the phone and answer any questions that you have to the best of my ability, and to help you determine what your legal rights are in these circumstances. So feel free to give me a call, and I would be glad to talk to you and see what I can do to help you out. Thank you.